Good evening. I am with Conversations, Just Talk, and Lisa Listen. And I am Lisa with the Lisa Listen side.
You are that person. And that would make me Jesse Farrell. And that would make this man over here, Anand Nair, our special guest.
That's
Anand,
correct.
we are going to give you a round of applause. Welcome to Conversations.
Nice.
Thank you.
So I'm professional speaker, life coach, author, and now podcaster.
And I am VP of Sales and Marketing and Success Coach for Lisa Listen and VP of Sales and Marketing for Just Talk.
And you are Anand?
I'm a wealth management strategist here in the Las Vegas Valley, helping people achieve their financial goals.
That's a big deal. We're so glad you're on the program.
I'm glad to be here.
We need lots of help with our finances.
Hey, I got you covered.
Hey, right on.
So we're going to bring on a little bit, in just a couple minutes. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping stuff.
Let's do it.
And then on, we're going to roll where the program today is about Q School. And Q School, well, a lot of people never heard of Q School, but we created it.
Is that something like when you play the game of pool?
Well, that would be Pool Q School. That's a little different.
When I think of Q, I think of Q.
Fair enough. But
or the guy that does my nails, his name's Q too.
Well, that's cool. But this one is not the nail guy or the pool guy. This is about, when we're going to school and we were always told to go to school and get good what?
Grades.
Right, good grades. And typically your parents want you to get something and something.
A's and A's.
A's and A's for you, right? Where'd you grow up at, Anand?
Or a GPA of?
California and Henderson, so yeah.
Do your parents, were they strict and tough?
They were.
Fair enough.
Very much.
So A's and A's.
A's and A's.
Okay, so I got it. A's and?
A's.
Okay, I was told A's and B's, so maybe it's the neighborhood I grew up
break.
in. So that typically applies to IQ.
Right.
And most people identify with IQ. And some people identify with some of the other Qs, but we're going to say what they are. The other Qs, we're going to talk about IQ in relationship to EQ, SQ, FQ, and PQ. So there's some other Qs that we're going to talk about, and that's
like Pikachu.
And Pikachu. That's
my son loves Pikachu. He would love to have this conversation with you.
And he's probably watching it. So
yes.
So let's do this. So Conversations Live is also another event we do. Conversations Live is going to be this Sunday. And that is going to be the 13th of September, and that's going to be at 12:45. It's a 90-minute program. This is by special invitation only, and we just happen to have, Lisa, I checked before we got on this program, we just happen to have 2 spaces left.
Ooh.
So if the folks out there that are paying close attention to this podcast, that would be, did Scott tell us to call those folks audience members or?
They are our audience.
That Scott is always schooling on us.
Because we have viewers, listeners, but they all make up an audience.
Okay, so the audience. With the audience out there listening, if you're interested, then you're going to go. You can see up on the screen here that we have Conversations Live also here showing. You just go to the website at justtalk.com, and then you hover over the home screen, and you'll see the option at the top for Conversations. You click that, and it'll tell you all about it. But basically, it's where we create an empowering conversation that is live, and typically we have between 6 and 10 people. That's about all we want, then we cap it. And I'm telling you, those conversations are on hit street. It has moved people into action that they didn't even know they needed to do. Right,
and
Liz?
it's our way of giving back to the community. It is at no charge, and it's a way to empower other people's lives that may not necessarily afford it, understand it, but they get to know exactly what it's all about.
And sharing a talent without having to reach for the wallet. Now, Anna, we want you reaching for the wallet because we know you're
I'm hoping to keep the money in the wallet. So we just want to make sure that they're okay there too.
And helping us too. So good. So now let's do this. Do me a favor, Lisa. Can you read Anand's bio? Because he's got some impressive stuff for a guy of your age. Because you got you're still kind of, got all your hair and everything. So.
Not all of it.
Okay. Go ahead.
As a wealth management advisor with MassMutual, Anand provides a broad portfolio of individual life, disability, long-term care insurance protection, asset accumulation strategies, and financial products and services. Anand works with high net worth families, businesses, and institutions.
Cool. That is outstanding. How long have you been doing this?
Well, banking and investments, I've been going for about 15 years. So I started my career here in Vegas, and it's been a whirlwind, just where the financial industry has gone. And so you've got to see a lot of different things and met a lot of great people along the way. But it's about having a very holistic view on the financial side. And so bringing that to our clients is super important to myself and my team.
Awesome.
And just making sure that they're on their way to financial greatness.
And you have an outstanding team. We've met your team.
They are. I couldn't do it without them. Actually, Nicole's on vacation this week, so I need her back home.
She makes you breathe a little easier.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a wonderful team. And Jeff, the leader of the pack, this guy's got some class as well. Class, poise, style, intelligence.
He's got swagger.
He does. He does
He's
have
got
swagger.
major swagger.
You tell your boy, I'm going to send him a piece on swagger.
You should.
And I know he's busy, but you tell him I want to be heard back from when I send him the piece on swagger.
I'll see him tomorrow. We'll
All right, fair
there
enough.
you go. Right on.
I better write myself a note so I can follow up and do that.
Asking it is given.
Exactly.
Right, as they say.
So that's cool. So we're going to focus on that because you are our expert on the FQ.
Right.
In terms of financial intelligence, that's one of our favorite cues we like to talk about. We really wanted to welcome you to the program because you can bring that value to the whole Q School process. So as we get into that, give us a bit of a cliffhanger. I'm going to save a space for you to really drill down and get more out of this FQ. We'll circle around the Qs if you two are okay with that.
That sounded like something else when you said FQ.
Well, this is a PG-rated show, girl.
I'm just sorry. You said to break it up when I could.
I will be very clear from now on.
I wanted to say I heard what I heard.
F as in friendly, Q as in quotient, FQ.
Okay, got it.
So
on
just give us a cliffhanger on it, if you will, on something that you're going to lead us to in terms of a cliffhanger of why raising our financial intelligence, our FQ.
Well, I think it's important. We're going to talk a little bit about today with the top 3 financial pitfalls that we normally see with our clients.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it's about making sure people are knowledgeable about those pitfalls and that we're addressing those issues quickly.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've had too many situations here in the Valley where we've talked to people and we can't help them in their situation because they're so far down this line.
Right.
And so we try to make small adjustments, get them back on the right path. And there's so many stories. We have friends that we're here in the Valley. We lost one of our friends recently last year. It's actually coming up on 1 year. And he was an amazing individual, had great things planned for him, 7-year-old baby girl that he was taking care of, and just about ready to get married, and just had such amazing strides in front of him in the next couple of years. And it was one of those individuals that I kept following up with. And, we tried to get in front of each other, but he was so committed to work. And
so busy. So busy.
And if I could just get him off that racetrack for half a day or for half an hour. Even.
To take some time back.
Right.
From that as a displacement, of course, but a proper displacement to take a look at a bigger picture that also fed back into the whole thing he was working for in the first place, probably.
Exactly. Just take care of your family, take care of the people that are important to you, and make sure we're focused on the right things.
You know what, though? When they work and they work that hard, they do think they're doing the right thing by taking care of their family.
Well said.
So they lose sight of the family. In fact, we were at dinner with some friends last night that just said the same thing. They're so busy working in the business. If they could do one thing, they would want to spend more time with their kids.
That's true. They did. And let's keep this conversation rolling and back and forth. I love what you said. I want to speak to that too, Lise. You're setting up a cliffhanger about a story about the situation. Don't tell the punchline on that yet. That's a really good one. When we get to FQ, let's pick back up that story. Yes. All three of us remember, but let's shuffle this game around. Lisa, I like what you said. We were with this wonderful family last night. Incredible. And 2 young girls that are just way ahead of their times in terms of intelligence and poise and savvy. And the whole point of us doing Q School here is if we were taught Q School early in life, like in the primary ages and elementary and junior high and high school.
Learn your language.
Yes. I don't think you should be able to graduate from primary school to go into elementary until you pass a proficiency of Q School. Right. And the same thing with elementary and high school and college. I don't think you ought to get your degree until they check out your other Qs because we never talk about them. Mm-mm. The gentleman that you were talking about, I'm going to tell us more about, is if he had understood the other Qs, I guarantee you his IQ would have allowed him to have 30 minutes, 45, 15 minutes, whatever, to hear you out so you can build that portfolio. You can take a look at all those financial pieces. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. And, it's one of those things, even on the financial side, that we've been talking about bringing into Clark County. And we've got some amazing leadership here in the Valley. So nice. They're actually working on those things right now to help the financial intelligence, making sure people can actually understand how to write a check.
Nice.
Yeah. Or balance a checkbook.
Balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
And why to balance the checkbook.
Right.
The why to balance the checkbook is more important than how to balance the checkbook.
Or what a credit card means and interest.
Right. And how to account for it.
Yeah. But see, now we're stepping on your stuff now. So
no, you're good.
But so let's look at some of the other cues. The importance of your thoughts, Lisa. Let's start with EQ.
Importance.
The importance of EQ. I can sound like I have an accent if I want to. It's importance if I want to say importance.
Like C'était Poitiers.
Like C'était Poitiers, yes. So the importance of emotional intelligence. Have you had instances in your life where you've seen people that don't realize that lack emotional intelligence?
I lived with a couple of those people in my lifetime. Yeah, and it was very uncomfortable. And if that in itself was taught in school, how much better and smoother life could have been having lived with somebody that had a little more EQ.
Yeah, and emotional intelligence is when we break it down, it's when you have the sense about your emotional maturity to know how to say, when to say, what to say, or even if to say, to take a bit of a test of the waters on what is going to be good for this situation. Is what I'm thinking and saying, although truth, is this a good time to say that?
Right.
Is this going to have the effect that I'm looking for it to have, or I want it to have to serve, self and others? Or is this, if my emotional maturity is high, would I discriminate when to use that or not? If you don't have it, there is no barometer for it.
Well, the Marine Corps, we called it tact, right?
Exactly.
Tact, yeah.
Well said. Tact is good. They call this. Was that their level of equivalency to emotional intelligence?
Well, it was one of the leadership principles that we look for when it comes to the Marine Corps.
I love it.
So we try to have great tact, try to have great bearing in the way that we present things to people. Unfortunately, it sometimes doesn't happen. Even in the Marine Corps, you see it a lot where as much as you drill it into them, it's not there. It's tough.
I totally dig that. And guess what? And when I think of the word having tact, and whether you know what that is or not, the way I've heard it said best is tact is the ability of making a point without making an enemy.
I like it. We use more colorful words.
Oh, I'll bet you do. Is that funny? So that's good. Well, so the emotional intelligence is just in talking about it, and there's some level of difference between emotional intelligence in men and emotional intelligence in women. But at the base level, I believe there's a consistency that works. To have it at the base level, it doesn't matter what the gender is. Typically, from what I've discovered or seen, women tend to mature quicker than men as we're growing up and evolving. And a lot of times, our emotional intelligence as men is stomped out of us. We're not supposed to be emotional or be tied into that. Men don't cry. Right?
Or boys don't cry. Or
do you agree with that, Anand, too?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think society has drilled a lot of that into us. And so you either find ways to rise above or you get kind of locked into that situation.
That's true. Anand says you find ways to rise above. What if you don't know what you don't know?
Or because you're never taught.
That's right.
You're never taught it. So
right. So, and I can think of a situation of an emotional intelligence time where years ago, back when I first wrote How You Leave Them Feeling, there was an article in the newspaper, and there was this doctor that had a wife and a couple kids, and the wife was driving down the street, and she accidentally cut off this guy, and the guy got upset with her, and they were pulling into a service station over there by Tivoli Gardens, over there by Rampart. And so he got so upset that he wanted to take this lady on. Well, she got afraid, so she called her husband, who was a physician, and he rushed down to the scene, and he got in the middle of that. And his emotional intelligence might have said to him, who knows what this other guy is into or what's going on in his world. Maybe I should survey the territory to see how to deal with this person. Well, he jumped right in, and he put his hands on the older gentleman, was like mid-60s, put his hands on him, and the older gentleman tripped, fell, bumped his head, and died.
Wow.
Right there on the scene in the gas station.
Wow.
So now he goes to rescue his wife, but if he had invoked some emotional intelligence, he might not have put his hands on that person. Maybe he had a few words with him or whatever. I don't know. But now he's locked up and he's doing time. Now how's he going to raise his family?
Right.
So what do you think about the lack of emotional intelligence in that situation, Lise? What do you think about when you hear that story?
We had a similar story at lunch today with Heather. Do you are you a hugger? Can you shake my hand? Can you do? People are so conscious of, can I touch? Can I not touch? If you touch somebody, oh, I hurt. I mean, this day and age that we live in, as far as, how can I touch? It's just better to be on the safe side of. And
having a higher level of emotional intelligence and asking. The safe side is to ask, which I learned the hard way. Would you prefer a hug or a shake?
Right.
Sometimes they'll say neither.
Well, it's part of getting to know people too, and just understanding who they are and what they want to achieve.
I totally agree. But what if it's new? What if you said that is part of getting to know on, and I agree. But what if it's brand new? Well, you're still in the getting to know stages. To Lisa's point, I think then to raise your emotional and social intelligence in that particular case, you want to, I've learned you'd be better. Since I'm a hugger, I just go to hug. Well, what if they don't want to hug me?
Right.
Or what if they are opposed to it for whatever reason? Or what if they're a germaphobe where they don't like other people touching them at all?
Right.
Or even a bump. They don't want to
Or even a bump. You have to respect that. So social intelligence also, I think, slides into when you're able to find your way in different broad ranges of social groups, whether it's at work or at home. There are people that go to work, they think that doing a great job is all there is to keeping the job. No. You better learn how to get along with different people and different groups socially while you're at work. What are both of your thoughts on that?
Well, and typically in this day and age, so many people do as little as possible just to get by.
Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on that? The notion of that's part of the game too, is growing your SQ, your social intelligence, as part of the game for building a well-rounded life that you love. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I know we're in Q school, but I know one of the things that we've done and that's really helped is the color code that we've talked about.
Yes, that's huge.
Just being able to identify, there's different tools out there. We've talked about DISC assessments and things along those lines, but being able to make a pretty good connection with somebody just on quick basis helps that social interaction.
I dig that. That's true.
For me, it's been very helpful. I know where I'm strong at. I know where I lack, and I can also identify people across the board, at least at a basic level, and try to interact with them in a different social setting.
Well, and you also get yourself because of you rising through that whole color code process and evolution and education and intel. You know yourself, but you also know the basic colors of others, the red, blue, the white, and the yellow,
right,
and what motivates their behavior and how they want to be spoken to. So the highest goal is to learn to speak the language of others,
right,
so that they can hear you, understand you, accept, and then have an opportunity to sign off on whatever it is you're inviting them into,
Which
right?
Which kind of fits all cues. SQ,
it does.
PQ,
I totally agree.
FQ, IQ.
I totally agree.
EQ.
I totally agree. And we're going to slide into the FQ in a second, but I'm going to turn a bit here. I have Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, where he talks about practical intelligence, the PQ. And I want to read just a little piece out of this because it's really, really neat. This Outliers was a book I read years ago. I usually read this about twice a year, and this is really, really good. And he talks about this. He says, the particular skill that allows you to convince your professor to move you from the morning to the afternoon section is what the psychologist Robert Sternberg calls practical intelligence. Says practical intelligence includes things like knowing what to say to whom, knowing when to say it, and knowing how to say it for maximum effect. It's the let's see what else here. It is about knowing how to do something without necessarily knowing why you know how to do it or being able to explain it. It's practical in nature, that it is not knowledge for its own sake. I love that, the way he rolls out that practical intelligence. What are your thoughts about practical intelligence?
I think that a lot of people don't even think about it. A practical intelligence, I would think, would be street smart.
Common sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it depends on where you were raised too.
Where you were raised and
Definitely.
how you were raised. Culture has a lot to do with it. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about that when you say it depends on where you were raised.
Well, just coming, I was born in San Jose. I lived in Sacramento for a while, and it was a completely different culture as far as whether it's a melting pot or not, how people perceive you, and even in the line of work that I do. Right?
Sure.
There's old mentality and new mentality. And
Sure.
Who do you want to do business with? And so to be able to really dig into it and look at the culture that's around you, you've got to be able, again, rise above it, or you either get crushed by it or rise above it.
I agree. And so much, I think, in our life is so much emphasis is placed on the IQ. And, growing up, whether you go to college or not, your parents, society, we talk a lot about people's intelligence and how smart they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love hanging around smart people, but I also love hanging around people that have a great polish on the other cues as well. What about you?
Well, yeah, because you always want to raise your game, and you can always learn something about hanging around people that are smarter than you are. I'd rather be in a room with people that are smarter than me than the opposite.
Do you mean like Anand Nair over here, who's smarter than us when it comes to financial intelligence? Here's your turn. Let's roll out some FQ stuff.
Okay.
Talk to us.
Well, so
educate us.
What we were talking about today is really the pitfalls that we see, the biggest pitfalls that we see for our clients.
Okay.
And, the ones that most people will run into as they're growing their FQ.
Okay.
Right. The first one, we talk about cash flow and budgeting, and budget's kind of one of those 4-letter words that have many letters.
People want to almost,
Right. So, but it's important to have it. And for me, I really strategically look at everything. If we can turn it back into a business mindset, right? As a business, we talk about how business generates revenue, and that's their income. So what they do in a day-to-day life helps them generate revenue, right? They also have to worry about the liabilities that they have, whether those are expenses for the power bill or the gas bill, or the wife that really likes to shop every now and again. I love my wife, and she enjoys shopping too. Or the kids that we want to take care of, and make sure that we're providing for them as well. And finally, just retaining of earnings, right? So businesses look at retaining of earnings as something that they can put back into their business. Well, if we look at that and classify it as savings, how are we going to put that towards our long-term financial success? So we talk about that. That's one of the major pitfalls that we see.
Say that again. The major pitfall is what? People don't what?
They don't have a budget in place, or don't understand their cash flow.
Or they're afraid of a budget, or they were never taught.
Or they don't even want to communicate about it, because then it causes dissension in their relationship.
Lisa's on to something.
They don't even want to talk about it.
It's one of those things where it's you've got to get past the first layer. You've got to get deeper into that conversation so that there can be success moving forward.
Lisa makes a very, very good point. In our society, to talk about money is typically taboo.
True.
We don't like to talk about it. Why not? It's a major form of exchange in terms of, I tell you what, money doesn't mean a lot unless you don't have any.
True.
Yeah.
And money isn't everything, but I can tell you, try to live your life without it and see what happens. It's a whole different life. So Lisa makes a very, very good point. I love what she said. Is a lot of the breakdown isn't even the first step.
Right.
Like you're talking about
communication.
It's a fundamental thing, and you're saying we're missing that.
Right.
What else?
Well, and if you have a husband or a wife that's draining the money, and you have one account, and you can't keep up with the money that person's draining because there was no conversation in the first place.
Or conversation or agreement.
How do you keep up with that?
Well, I think that's the important part too, is having a strategy behind it.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
You've got to be able to communicate that strategy and know the players and what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, and have open communication around it. And then have a strategy to get there.
And building an equity and building an intelligence that keeps growing about it. So tell us more.
Well, the second one that I wanted to talk about is good debt versus bad debt.
Okay.
So we hear debt. And
I don't like when I hear debt.
Right. And so most people turn away from that and they want to run away. But there's a huge difference if I'm sitting down with somebody and they say, well, I have $50,000 worth of auto loan debt versus I have $50,000 worth of school debt, right? And college debt.
Right.
Because more than likely that $50,000 worth of college debt is putting you in a position to better yourself in your career.
There you go.
To make more money down the line.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that there's a good classification of debt, right? Are we using debt for the right reasons? Mortgages, great example of an asset for you to own your home.
Well, before you get to mortgages on debt, what I want to know from you, I'm considering you the expert. That's fair, right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
I want you as the expert to tell me, how am I going to get somebody to come in and pay off all my debt?
Well, I haven't figured that one out.
That's what I'm talking about. No, Anand, I'm serious.
Well, you guys need to sit down and have a one-to-one, and Anand can figure that out.
We can
don't bail him out.
Strategize on how to reduce those debts effectively. One of the things that I do a lot of times is we work with a couple of the colleges here in the Valley, specifically around the medical profession, because a lot of times they come out with $100,000, $200,000 worth of debt.
Huge.
And
Monster.
so to start that relationship when they're first coming into their career, and
21, 22 years old, you got $100,000 worth of debt. No, that's brutal. I'm sorry I interrupted you with being a little bit goofy, but I would like for you to strategize on who you can get to come in and help pay off my debt, and then I promise not to have any more debt. But that's later. That's
good. We can work on a strategy on that side.
I'm pressing on this Anand Cat.
No, you're good.
So what about the mortgage then?
Well, just understanding that, again, if you're looking at the house as an asset, if it's a long-term investment for you, where does it fit, right? Is it something that we're trying to roll real quick and we're trying to make some money real fast?
Sure.
Sometimes those are very successful in nature. Sometimes they're not.
Sure.
But if you're looking at it as a great asset for your long-term success and you're going to pay off that debt, whether it's in a 15-year, 20-year, 30-year span,
right,
at least it becomes an asset for your portfolio, right? So I love it.
Cha-ching.
So just the difference between having good debt on the books versus bad, and then identifying which ones are not necessary, right? And rolling out of those
I love it
effectively.
Well, that's succinct. That's very good. And so that's number 2. What's third?
Third one is timing. And so timing is a little hard to talk about without drawing some. I'm one of those visual people.
Yeah,
so
me
I
too.
draw.
Sure.
Me too.
But when you talk about timing, it's just understanding that there's different positions for money, right? And so there's different tools out there that need different times. And so if I have a young client and he's 24 years old, making great amount of money, and he's putting the max amount into his 401k, which is $18,000 this year,
right?
It might not be the most effective use of his capital,
right?
Because if he has an immediate need that comes out and he's already maxed out that 401k, where does he take the money from? And so when you have those situations, it's about structuring them into savings accounts, different investment tools that can be pulled out within 2 to 3 years, other strategies between 5 and 10, and then looking long term as well.
Mm-hmm.
So timing the money is important.
I love that. We need to spend more time with Anand, and we need to get Anand and definitely in front of more of our people that we care about to learn this. Because you're making it sound real smooth and easy, but that took a while for you to learn all this, and so.
Well, why haven't we had a one-to-one, had this conversation?
Listen, first I want him to get the bills paid off, then we can talk about the one-on-one thing. But where can people find you? I'm going to talk about where they can find us in a moment, but where can people get hold of your expertise and set up an appointment or make a phone call or see a website? How can they reach out to you?
Well, the easiest way is if you Google Mass Mutual Las Vegas.
Okay.
When it pops up on the Google side, you're going to see the initial website for the agency, and I'm actually the second person on there. So you just click my name and take you right to the site. It'll ask you to set up an appointment or give us a call on that line. The phone number that you can reach us at is 702-845-1308.
Okay.
And that's going to lead directly to me. Sometimes I can't pick up all the time, but
you always get back to them.
I always get back to them.
Very good. No, that's good. I'm glad. So that's the best place where they can find you, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Then where they can find us, that's really good. Thank you, Anand. Where they can find us, as you can find us on iTunes, Apple TV, Roku TV, Stitcher, Google TV, YouTube, RSS feed, Facebook, Twitter. Of course, the Vegas Video Network.
But not
of course.
least.
Yeah. So with that being said, I do want to say that our next guest next week is going to be Dr. Victoria Boyd, and we're going to have an incredible program with her.
She's
philanthropreneur.
Yeah,
say that 3 times fast.
I'm going to try to say it once.
See?
Say it.
Say it on.
I've met Victoria Boyd, and she's amazing.
I'm saying it right now. That's right. The doctor's going to be here. So.
And you don't want to miss it. She is like the expert in nonprofits.
Very good. So, but to close out with the Q School, let's talk. Let's close now with Q School. What resonates with either one of you about our Q School conversation today? FQ was really huge. The way you did a deep dive down, pull off a couple more layers out of that.
Well, what was new to me was the PQ.
Okay, practical intelligence.
Because really common sense, it comes down to, are you book smart or are you street smart? Those were the 2 smarts that I was taught.
Sure.
So to have street smarts, the PQ smart just put a different spin on it for me.
What about for you, Anand?
I'd have to mirror. I think the street smarts has been something that we've grown up with and understand, and to get through it and get past it, and to want to educate yourself more and to different dynamics, whatever it might be, whether it's the financial side, whether it's banking, whether it's the hospitality, that's huge in this industry.
For sure.
Just educate yourself to be better than where you started from.
Fair enough.
And let's get on Anand's calendar.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the second thing I got.
More than once, for sure.
That I got from this meeting today.
For sure. So, but do you not see how Q School raises the game, where you get a chance to build a broad range of emotional intelligence, practical intelligence, IQ, of course, is still important, but it gives us a chance to build relationship equity in all facets in a well-rounded sense of our lives. You guys agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Anna, it's super, super duper having you on the program. I knew it was going to be a great session, and we're definitely going to have you back.
Absolutely. And next time we'll talk, I think we're going to strategize around what the most successful clients in our portfolios look like.
I like that. In fact, I'd like to be one of those most successful clients in the portfolio. So you can make it happen, because you know what Anand's doing about the whole feeling thing?
Oh,
it's all about what, Lise?
How you leave them feeling.
You got it.